This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome. You are in the lab room, of course. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 2 in the National Football League. New England Patriots looking to bounce back from a very, very disappointing Week 1 loss at Miami, taking on the 1-0 Minnesota Vikings, coming off a high of blowing out the St. Louis Rams on the road. So, two teams coming off of two drastically different weeks. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they don't know what back-to-back losses look like too often. So you were expecting them to come out and give it a heck of an effort in this game. If you're Minnesota, no Adrian Peterson. We know the controversy that's been swirling around him of late. So he had been deactivated because of his off-the-field issues. And so they were already short-handed coming into this game. They were going to have to do a lot right in this game, and the Patriots were going to have to do a lot wrong for the Minnesota Vikings to get this victory. Let's talk about this game very quickly. Vikings begin the game with a 7-play, 80-yard touchdown drive capped off by a 25-yard Matt Asiata touchdown on a catch and run out in the flats. And let me tell you how the Vikings, you can tell their first 15 plays that were scripted, they were beautiful. They were scripted to a T. And what they were doing was playing off of the success they had the week before. If you watch those first 7 plays on that drive, you see Cordell Patterson in the backfield, and he's lined up as a decoy. And the Patriots were following this guy wherever he went because of the huge week he had the week prior against the Rams. And so they used that to their advantage, did the Vikings, and they ran a play where it was a misdirection. Cordell Patterson, or Cordero Patterson, I should say, went to the left of the offensive formation, and Asiata went out to the right, and Castle rolled out to the right and threw it to Matt Asiata, and no one was there. It was a walk-in touchdown, essentially, because everybody was keying in on Cordero Patterson. And so you could tell the plays were scripted, and they were scripted very well. But after that, not much happening in the form of success for the Minnesota Vikings. You move on, Matt Castle, and this is the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde you get with Matt Castle. Last week, the running game was on point, and the defense was smothering the Rams, and so Matt Castle got to be a game manager. This week, he had to make plays, and this is when you get into trouble with Matt Castle. He's picked off by Devin McCourty, and it's okay to be picked off. My problem is, after the interception, someone has to get this man on the ground. You can't allow him to make the interception, fall on the ground, get up, and then take it 61 yards down to the 1-yard line. That's a no-no. That sets up a 1-yard Stephen Ridley touchdown. It's now knotted up at 7. If you're the Vikings, somebody's got to tackle this guy. You can't allow. And he was running all over the place. He was darting in and out of blocks, reversing field. He was doing all kinds of nonsense. And no one came and got this man on the ground until he got to the 1-yard line. Shame on you. So it's 7-0. And after avoiding a Julian Edelman fumble, he almost fumbled the ball away. They recovered to the Patriots. They end up getting a field goal out of the deal. It's 10-7 as they take their first lead in this game. We go to the second quarter. Darrelle Revis kicks off the quarter with an interception of Matt Castle. That's Castle's second pick of the game. And on 3rd and 14, Julian Edelman gets 49 yards on a hookup from Tom Brady, which sets up a 9-yard Julian Edelman touchdown. It's now 17-7 as the Patriots start to pull away. But this is something that they did a week ago against Miami. It looked like they wanted to run away with that game, and then the Dolphins threw out that hook and reeled them back in and ultimately passed them never to return again. So, you know what? Looking at the game at that time when it was 17-7, I said, they may not be gone just yet. If the Vikings can somehow find a way to respond, they could stay in this game and hang around and maybe even get the Patriots. But we're not talking about family business. We're not talking about a team that knows the Patriots like the back of their hand. We're talking about the Minnesota Vikings. And oh yeah, their quarterback is Matt Castle. So Chandler Jones is able, and Castle, to his credit, takes the Vikings down the field right before the half. They get in the field goal range. And if they were to make that field goal, we're talking about a 7-point game with a little bit of momentum going into the halftime break. So, you know what? I'll cut them a little bit of slack there, but it doesn't matter. Chandler Jones breaks through the line, blocks the kick. But again, much like with the interception by Devin McCourty, you didn't get this guy on the ground. He blocks the kick, scoops it up, perfect carom, gets the football, takes off to the races. It's a touchdown, and that's a 10-point swing. That's a backbreaker is what it is. You go from potentially trailing by only 7 by 1 score at the halftime break to now trailing by 3 scores, 17-point deficit. At this point, you know, it's a long uphill climb that I just don't see the Vikings being able to complete. It's 24-7 now at half instead of 17-10. That was debilitating if you were the Minnesota Vikings. Castle is picked off again in the third quarter for the 3rd time in the game, this time by Logan Ryan. It was a beautiful play by Logan Ryan undercutting the football. And as that pick commenced, you could hear the crowd in the background calling for Theodore. Teddy, Teddy, Teddy. It's only a matter of time before they turn their back completely on Matt Castle. Hey, Matt Castle was the toast of the town last week. Everybody was talking about how the Vikings could do this and do that. And I said, hey, pump your brakes. It's week 1. You beat the Rams and they had a backup quarterback. Stop your nonsense. Now we go to week 2. We fast forward and 4 picks later, Matt Castle is being drowned out of the stadium with chants of Teddy, Teddy, Teddy. Hey, I can't lie. I was serenading that cheer, and I was leading the charge. Teddy, Teddy. Because, you know, I want to see Teddy Bridgewater too. I want to see Theodore get his chance to take control of the reins and see what this team can do. So, at the end of the day, Vikings were dominated in this game. That interception that Logan Ryan had led to another field goal. Ultimately, the Patriots would tack on another field goal and win this game 30-7. And again, what did you expect? Brady and Belichick, they don't lose back-to-back games very often. I didn't expect them to go to Minnesota and drop this one. They took care of business like I expected them to. Did I expect it to get out of hand like this? Maybe, maybe not, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. This team, without Adrian Peterson, is very mediocre at best. No Adrian Peterson, no threat on the ground, no threat on the ground, no aerial attack, no winning football for this Minnesota Vikings team. Patriots go to 1-1 on the season, get their first win of the season. Meanwhile, Vikings drop their first win of the season and drop to 1-1 as the Minnesota Vikings, without Adrian Peterson, can't get it done. And the New England Patriots get a gift as they go and ambush the Vikings in Minnesota. So that's going to do it for the wrap-up of the Minnesota Vikings hosting the New England Patriots. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. I've got plenty more games to break down in week number 2 of the National Football League. Look, I've got plenty more to break down. So come back and join me as I continue to run through the slate of games in week number 2. I'll see you in a bit.